December 7, 1941, the United States of America put its foot down hard in World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Upon entering the war, victory was in view, but the U.S. had its sights so intently fixed on reaching peace that it didn't see the dramatic effects that would soon take place, though events throughout the war pointed clearly to the aftermath. The nation called on millions of men to leave their families, careers, routine, etc. to serve in the military. But who would replace all of that manpower in the workforce? Government and industrial workers called on American women, and some 6 million answered the call. Half of those 6 million took on tough jobs in defense industries, while the other half was a culmination of women working at home, taking care of the men fighting on the front lines by becoming a nurse, or even joining the Women's Armed Corporation. Their husbands left to fight in the war, while women stayed behind to raise the children. He protected the country while she protected its future generations. There was still value in what she did, though her country asked for more. Little did people know that the urge for women to join the war effort would be a call eagerly answered by 6 million women, paving the way for them to gain equality. By fighting in this war, women were able to stay safe in their home and try their best to maintain the stability in home while building up patriotic morale. Victory gardens were the primary source of pitching in the war effort for women at this time, who worked in the home, and although it didn't seem like much, it did a lot to the spirits of women, making them feel that they could make a difference.
I was doing my usual run to the store, and I passed by this poster, and it happened to say, "Food will win the war and write the peace." And it had a big picture of Uncle Sam on it, and I was like, hey, that's actually something I could do. It had some pictures of garden patch, and I realized, I may not be able to fight like my husband Luke is. He's an officer in the war, but I can help him by rationing my own food, by growing my own potatoes and fruits and veggies, and I thought, I could do this. So I decided to start growing my own victory garden, and it may not seem like much, but I know every bit of it, and every sweat that drips from my face, and every empty space in my stomach is going to count. So that's my part in this war.
As men went to war, wages in munitions plants and aircraft factories were much more than traditional female jobs. That women left traditional domestic and community jobs to work in war production plants, offering 40% higher pay. Most were working-class wives, widows, divorcees, and students who needed the money. There was a lot of assembly line work available as well. With the help of women workers, industrial production in the United States doubled between 1939 and 1945. From 1940 to 1944, the percentage of women workers employed in factories increased from 20 to 30%. Military production made 300,000 aircrafts, 12,000 ships, 86,000 tanks, and 64,000 landing crafts, as well as millions of artillery pieces, small weapons, and ammunition. They also worked on tanks, trucks, engines, and put rivets on airplanes, wove metal lines of noses on attack bomber aircrafts, and inspected parts for quality. They even learned to be welders on Navy ships working in shipyards, and some were promoted to management positions.
I work in the assembly of Browning M2s. This machine gun is my part in the war effort, as I developed these weapons alongside the 3 million other women in such industries. I am helping fight those Nazis and kick butt. My career here was inspired by my twin daughters. I want them to grow up in a world where they can never be told they can't do a man's job. I'm doing a man's job now, and doing it better than they ever could.
When the war began, there were less than 1,000 members in the American Nurses Corporation. However, by the end of the war, over 59,000 women had served on the ANC alone. Part of the reason for this increase had to do with posters like the ones seen here, meant to motivate and empower women to do their part to help the war effort. In the years of 1943 to 1948, the government paid for nurses to attend nursing school in order to boost the number of nurses in the Army. Nurses also received practical and military training and instruction, such as gas mask drills seen here. Nurses filled all kinds of roles, from working in field hospitals to general hospitals, as well as in airplanes. Some also rolled bandages or prepared medical supplies. Over the course of the war, more than 1,600 nurses were decorated for bravery under fire and meritorious service.
She was always eager to return to the hospital where the wounded were fighting for their lives. For first and foremost, and at all times, she was a nurse, offering professional and skilled care to the sick and wounded. A nurse first, a woman second, and an officer third might well serve as the slogan for every member of the Nurses Corps. Complete recovery of the patient in war or peace depends not only upon the use of drugs, but on the skill with which they are administered and the care that follows.
I decided to join the Army Nurse Corps because I was inspired by my husband, Spencer Turner, who's currently serving as an officer in the U.S. Army. And I knew when I signed up that it would be dangerous and that I'd be in areas of combat and would be putting my life on the line, and decided it was worth it because I get the opportunity to take care of the men who are out there serving our country. I wake up early, I go to bed late, and I'm always on call for them, and my aim is to take care of them to the best I can for however long they are with us. And I do this in the hopes that one day someone somewhere will do the same for my husband if he's ever injured. I know that this is dangerous, and I was willing to accept the risks because I wanted to fight for my country, and I wanted to do my part and take care of the men who are out there fighting for our rights and fight for my own rights as well. Although women were traditionally excluded from military service and their participation in the armed forces was not promoted at the outset of World War II, it soon became clear that their participation was necessary to win the war. More than 350,000 women served during the war. There were 4 major branches that women served on, including SPARs, WAVES, WASPs, and WACs. SPARs were women Coast Guards, accepted on the same basis of male recrutists. WAVES were women who served in the Navy and Marines. As many as 100,000 women served as WAVES throughout the remainder of the war. WASPs were women pilots. Unlike other military occupations, WASPs had to have a pilot's license and volunteer for a 6-month training program before they could work on the field. Women in the WAC program served in many positions, typically given to men. They were the first women, other than nurses, to serve within the ranks of the U.S. Army.
I decided to join the Army for the sake of fighting for my rights and loved ones' freedoms. Unlike some women, I didn't think it was enough to stand behind the men. I was called to a high degree of sacrifice. I was compelled to be out on the front lines, proving that women can be just as fierce and useful in war as men. It is my privilege to be out and fighting for such causes.
Between 1943 and 1945, polls indicated that 61 to 85% of women workers wanted to keep their jobs after the war. According to an article by National World War II Museum, quote, "At the war's end, even though a majority of women surveyed reported wanted to keep their jobs, many were forced out by men returning home and by the downturn in demand for war materials. Women veterans encountered roadblocks when they tried to take advantage of the benefit programs for veterans, like the GI Bill. The nation that needed their help in a time of crisis, it seems, was not yet ready for the greater social equality that would slowly come in the decades to follow." Because of the many opportunities provided women during the war as the men fought on the home front, women found a sense of confidence in their ability to do things that had traditionally been male jobs. As a result, this motivated them to stand up for their rights after the war. So really, after World War II,
women's rights are now a thing.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what.
I'm dying.
Fine. Suck it up.
Don't you grab your butt that arm? No. Yeah. Good idea.
Would you like some help?
Oh.
That was the most.
is an officer in the Army, and so I joined Lindsay. Stop laughing at me. My husband.
So there's less pressure. You're good, Peyton.
Okay. Can do this.
You got it, Peyton.
Spencer Turner, and he serves as an officer in the U.S. military during during the war we're in right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Don't hit me in the face.